How is it going, boys and girls? Welcome back to Key West Waterman. Grouper season is officially open. Let's go! Oh, look at all the life, baby.
That would be your floaters.
They're behind them. Never mind. Brown trout. Wrong species. How is it going, boys and girls? Welcome back to Key West Waterman. My name is Aaron Young. It is officially grouper opener. And we are out here. The weather is great. I've got Brandon with me, which if you've been watching the channel for a very long time, you've seen Brandon before, Mr. Kissel. He dove with me a couple years ago, grouper opener. I've got Justin up front, you know him. He's always negative and he never hits anything, so I always bring him just to make me look good. We are on the first spot. We've got some life under the boat already.
You better redo that.
I'm gonna flip this over. We're in 50 feet of water. If this is your first time watching by chance, or if you're new to the channel, you probably haven't seen this. A lot of times I preach conservation and kind of just taking what we need. Today is an exception. A few times a year I do commercial trips where we harvest a commercial quantity of fish and we sell it to the market. Grouper is one of the most popular fish down here in the Keys and the restaurants. It keeps a lot of people working, so I do a few grouper trips a year just to get to the fish market, get to the restaurant. Again, keeps everybody working, so we're gonna hop in and see if we can find some groupers to shoot. There may not be, we'll see. There may not be a ton of topside talking. It's a lot of business today, so let's hop in and see what we see. One last grouper opener, buddy. Welcome back underwater, everybody. I do appreciate you tuning in. One thing I did want to say real quick, I do have some more t-shirts in, finally. I'm still waiting on hats to come in, but I do have some dibs on bottom, hooded and not hooded, dry fit shirts, and I did get some Key West Waterman shirts made. So if you want to order a shirt, there is a link in the description for this video. And I do appreciate it. Be sure to hit the like button if you have not already. Also, helps a ton. So this is the first spot of the day. And quite honestly, this is going to be my last grouper opener with the original banana gun. I'm going to retire it and hang it on the wall. That fish has seen, or that gun has seen so many fish. And it really is just an important gun to me, and I'd like to see it hung on my wall so I never lose it. But first spot, first drop, kind of not a lot going on. And you'll see here why in a sec. Normally this spot has quite a bit of life on it, but there's not a ton going on. You can see kind of center top of the frame, you'll see two really big Goliath groupers. And that's not a good sign. When you see those around, typically they're pretty dominant. They're kind of aggressive with other fish. So a lot of times if they're in the area, there's not going to be the other predators that you're looking for. So first spot ended up actually being a bust, which does happen. As I always talk about YouTube land and social media and whatnot, I mean, it gives you this impression that every dive we shoot a fish, every spot is just loaded with fish, and quite frankly, that's not the truth. I know I say that a lot, and it's probably getting annoying, but it is the truth. So I try to preach it as much as I can. I think on this day I did 67 drops total on my watch, and I shot maybe 10 fish, 12 fish, something like that. So just keep that in mind, especially if you ever come out with me. So this is the second spot. Doing some grunting. I can see a mutton out there, kind of curious. Doing some grunts to see if it'll turn around, and it kind of does turn around and gives me a decent shot here. When a fish comes up on the bottom up off the bottom at you like that, it can be kind of tricky. You got to be careful because it's can be easy to get wrapped around in that line. You just want to, I typically try not to grab the fish when it's up like that, kind of flopping around. I grab the shaft or the line and bring it to me. If you try to grab just the fish, you can kind of get yourself into a mess there with the line. Sorry if you hear some background noise. Tipsy's in here with me while I'm doing audio. She's digging her bed around. This is Justin's cam. Nice mutton came in and he threw a shot there, and man, he got a good stone shot. Big old mutton snapper. First 2 fish of the day. Not the groupers we're looking for, but on commercial day we will gladly take them. They sell just the same. Yo, unicorn. Yeah, baby. I'll take those.
Promise unicorns today.
So same spot. We just weren't seeing the grouper we're used to seeing. So I went off the edge a little bit on the deep side. I think the bottom's about 75 here where I did this drop. You can see on my drops, I try to tuck my head. When it's clear like this, though, you like to kind of spot. That way you can kind of direct which way you need to go. If you do see a fish, you want to angle your dive just a hair, so you land on that fish and you're not doing a ton of tracking on the bottom. But typically I want to keep my chin tucked on deeper dives. You can see a decent black grouper here. He kind of turns on me a little. Didn't give me the exact broadside I normally like, but the fact that I had already done 10 dives and I hadn't shot a single grouper, maybe I was a little desperate. And you can see it actually tore the fish's, what I would call the throat. And I was kind of confused that if either the fish did it, but after looking at it, it looked like my spear had gone down through kind of near the collar gill area. And when that fish started to struggle, it actually ripped the shaft through, and which bled it out pretty good for me. So this is Kissel coming up with a nice grouper. I wanted to leave this in here just to kind of show you when we're doing these deeper dives, we do a lot of buddy diving. You can see Justin meeting him and making sure he's good. That was a nice dive. All right, we out of here. Spot number 3. And these aren't really secret spots or anything. They're just areas on the reef that typically hold more life than others. Just they tended to be a little slow this day. Kind of started out slow, as you can tell. A lot of smaller fish. Here's a black grouper I'm lining up on, and I'm just not completely convinced. I hate shooting groupers under 26, 27 inches. It's just, I don't know. Like to let them grow a little bit, a little better yield on them. You can see I'm actually sizing this thing up, making sure it's legal. It was a 20, I think it was a 26-inch fish after I measured it, but you can see I was pretty hesitant there for a while. There was a little red grouper there kind of squirting around as well. Let my gun get out away from me. No reason to swim up with my gun. Just asking for a tangle. Spot number 4. So the first clip, or the first dive on this spot, something happened to the file, or I couldn't get the clip to load or whatnot, but I did a drop on a pretty nice grouper, over 20 pounds, and it darted off and kind of rocked up into a hole, and I saw another smaller one go into it. But again, for whatever reason, that clip didn't record properly. So this is my return trip with a flashlight to try and locate those fish, kind of see where they're at, where they're set up, and see if I can get a shot on them. I had seen both of them go in. Neither of them came out. You can see kind of coming around the corner, lining up, and I see just the lips or the face of a grouper come around real slowly before I could see the fish's eye. And I put a shot right in the face there. It kind of goes crazy, understandably, but was able to get it out without getting tangled. And after I get my hands on the fish, I realized that this is not the fish that I had, the bigger of the fish that I had watched swim in there. Still a great fish, just not the right one. Smaller one. Yep. There's a bigger one in there. He's still there? He's gotta be. This isn't the one that I saw go in there. So this is my return trip. I actually swapped guns and put a slightly bent shaft in the newer banana gun because I knew this fish was big. There's a good chance that he's going to bend this shaft. And long story short, this fish was such a production to get out. It took so many dives. I'm going to make a separate episode. It'll probably be this Thursday just for this fish. I'm going to keep all the dives raw and kind of show you exactly what it takes to get a fish out sometimes at this depth and working together, and how much of a production it can be. Again, I know it looks like we just swim down, shoot a fish, and pull it up every time. So that's going to be its own episode. I just wanted to show you a clip of how it actually started. Ended up probably taking me an hour to get this fish out of here. If you watch closely, you can see the fish kind of shift right there. And I put a shot in the thick of his tail because I couldn't get a headshot on them. And once I shoot him, I kind of push the shaft forward, and I want the fish to come out the other side. Again, long story short, it did. Went back in, turned into a mess. It took about an hour and a half to get this fish out. So that'll be a separate episode, just one fish this Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. It was quite the production, and I think it's gives you a little reality on what it actually takes. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but I think it'll be a cool clip with a few things to talk about and address. That grouper whipped my behind. Woo! That fish whooped my butt. That was a productive spot. We are getting there. Gonna ice these fish properly and move on to the next. So it is time for the brine. So I ice these as best as I can when we go, or as we go. I gut everything because at the market it has to be sold gutted. But we're getting to the point where we're a little crowded. So what I'm gonna do, kind of spread everybody out. We're gonna add some salt water. And what that does is actually brings the water, don't quote me on this, I think it's below freezing. Salt water and ice makes the water really, really cool. It really expedites the chilling process on these. The cooler your fish, the better. The market loves it. We are looking all right. I'm gonna take 5 real quick. Kind of pooped after that grouper mission. But I wanted to just take a second, kind of explain what's going on again for those of you who are new to the channel or haven't seen us do this commercial thing and wondering why we're throwing so many fish in the boat. So if you've ever bought fish from the supermarket, seafood market, a restaurant, you're supporting some form of commercial fishing, and that's what we're doing today. The main difference I think with spearfishing is opposed to long lining, rod and reel, dragon nets, whatever it may be. I think the main difference with spearfishing is we're going down and we're selecting one fish at a time. We're literally picking the one we want and we're shooting it and bringing it back. I think it's, in my opinion, probably the most selective form of commercial fishing and probably one of the most sustainable, because we're down there in the water looking at the population. We kind of know what's going on. So just wanted to share that. I think these videos probably get the most negative feedback of all the videos I do post, which is fine. I understand. Doesn't really upset me because a lot of people just aren't educated. They're watching from somewhere they never seen this or never even heard of it. So just wanted to mention that, and let's get back to the action. So you'll notice some of the spot numbers are skipping. I think we went from 4 to 6. Some spots we didn't shoot any fish on. So again, that's reality. Not every spot is a good spot. It's just the way it is. So this is Justin diving down. I followed him. I wanted to get some third-person action. It gives you a little different perspective. And I'm going to jump to his camera. He lines up on a real nice grouper, comes in, kind of just gives him a pretty good shot. I'm not sure here. Maybe the fish just kind of flicked a little right when he shot, and that fish takes off. I switch back to my camera. The fish actually tears out, which what that means is the shaft comes out of the fish and the fish gets off. So I kept my eye on it and kind of followed it, and it swam around and kind of laid in this little crack and just kind of hid behind a fan. And I luckily got down to the bottom and was able to get up close to it without it taking off and put a good stone shot in there. I hate leaving an injured fish down there. That was actually a pretty cool little series of a dive there. Not often you have a fish tear off like that and retrieve him on the same dive. I think that was a first for me.
Don't worry, I got you, dog.
And as I've spoke about in the past, we gut commercially, we brain, bleed, and then we gut everything. At the market, they buy fish gutted whole. There's no reason for them to pay for the contents of inside the stomach. They can't sell that. They make no money off of it, so why would they pay for it? And I even talk about I gut most fish, even on recreational trips. They ice faster, and I like everything that's in there to go out and feed all the fish that are on that spot. And it's just more chum in the water, which creates action. I always say action brings action. So this is our next spot. And you can see when it's clear, I'm pretty much scanning my entire way down, just trying to eyeball which way I'm going to head, what I'm looking for. If I'm doing really deep dives, again, I'll tuck my chin. 60 feet's not shallow, but it doesn't take you long to get down there. Nice mutton comes in. Just kind of tracking, waiting for that broadside shot so I can get a good clean angle on it. Good stone shot there.
Some big yellow jacks.
So here's Brandon coming up right after my mutton. He did a drop and he shot a nice black grouper, and he's pulling it up. You can see a bull shark come in, kind of curious. That's why I try not to let fish dangle, but that's also why we buddy dive. So this is the same spot. Pearl, be quiet. You're going to be on the YouTube episode. Same spot. Brandon's grouper must have created a bunch of commotion because a lot more groupers showed up. And you can see I got one in mind. I don't think the frame picks them all up, but there was about 4 or 5 legal groupers in this area. And right about now, a little earlier, I've stopped kicking. I'm just drifting. I don't want to create any commotion. I want that fish to stay still as long as possible. So once I'm in my what you call sink phase and you're neutrally buoyant, you start to sink, I stop kicking if I'm lined up on a fish like that, just because I want to be as still as possible. I don't want to create any movements that are going to make that fish kind of dart off. And luckily that fish stayed pretty still, and I got a beautiful stone shot on it. So he started off a little slow, but definitely started to pick up. So here is Justin's cam, same spot. See all kinds of life here. There's all kinds of bait and yellowtails, barjacks. There were some chubs there. He's got his grouper in mind. He's eyeballing it. Nice broadside. Try to keep it out of the rocks there. Bring it up to you to avoid the sharks, and well done. So we're back to my camera. Actually, didn't do the whole dive. I forgot to turn my camera on. You can see, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, it's mating season for these turtles, and they tend to be a lot more friendly this time of year. And this thing comes right up to me, lets me get a real cool close-up. Love seeing the wildlife like that. It's always a pleasant treat. I've got a little mangrove in mind. Kind of far out, wasn't really turning, and I'm like, I'm going to go up, then starts to turn. I was like, screw it, I'll take the shot. And I let it dangle a little longer than I should have. I should have just went and got the fish, but we hadn't. The only shark we saw was that one at the very beginning of this spot, and nothing else had really bothered us, so no big deal. And Justin had gotten out and taken a break, and he hopped back in. He forgot to put his weight belt on, and I was going to do a third-person shot. And about halfway down, he realizes that he does not have a weight belt on, and he's way too floaty to get down. So he abandons the dive. I just decided to continue on. This is still the same spot. We haven't left. We saw probably a total of, I don't know, 7 or 8, maybe more legal black groupers. I've got one more decent one here. Typically I won't pull more than, I don't know, 3 or 4 off of a spot. Doesn't really turn like I want him to, so I kind of get low when he goes down behind that rock, and I can swim towards him a little faster because they feel safe. And gave me a good shot there. I actually lost my knife somehow on this dive. I'm not sure. You can see me looking for it.
I lost my knife.
I wasn't really paying attention. I saw one more small one, but I zeroed in on this guy. This is a happy spot. I like this spot. Woo! That's what we call a happy spot. On to the next. Spot number 9. All kinds of life here too. A lot of times I'm just looking for life, you know. Fish want to eat. All fish want to eat. They all eat something. So big fish eat little fish, you know. So if you're finding an area with a decent amount of life, there's going to be some type of predator there. I'm just kind of scanning around. You can see under this little shelf there's a decent grouper, not a huge one, 26, 27 inches. I think he thought he was a little more camouflaged than he actually was, but stayed broadside and got a nice shot in there. Main thing is just trying to avoid them from wrapping that line around the rocks, getting rocked up, getting the shaft stuck. Because if you got a fish down there on the bottom flopping, as I always say, it's going to bring in some unwanted attention. We try to extract a fish first dive every time if you can. Unless it's inside a hole, it's different.
That wasn't him. Can I borrow your knife?
So on that last spot, you could hear me say that wasn't him. Brandon had told me there was about a 15-pound grouper. After he did his dive, he saw it, but that one was a bit smaller. So So we were pretty tired. It was about 4 in the afternoon. We just decided we were going to go hit a couple shallow ledges. Nice, nice rest for the legs. Diving 60, 70 feet all day can really get to you physically. So we went in. We were about 30 feet. Just hit some ledges, see if there's any groupers around there. Nice little black kind of squirts out there and takes off, does a little half moon back into the ledge. It wasn't a monster, so I wasn't too concerned with like being aggressive with it. And you can see there it bolts at the top of the screen and created a little dust cloud. And I'm looking back in this ledge and I see another one, and you can see I kind of pause and I take a really long time shooting this fish because I'm almost confused as to why it's sitting completely still the way it is. Normally a grouper like that is either going to square up on you or it's going to take off, and it didn't do either. And I just couldn't figure out why. It almost threw me off a little bit. But you'll see here why in a sec. I flipped the fish over and there's a huge gash in the backside where someone had already taken a shot. And the fish apparently tore out. They didn't get it, but the fish was still barely alive, which I hate leaving, injured fish out there. I know sometimes you have no choice, but I don't think this fish was going to make it, so I was happy to put it out of its misery. And that's all I've got for grouper opener underwater. Stay tuned for the commercial breakdown. Next week's episode we filmed yesterday. Amazing episode, bunch more big grouper and a couple of giant African pompanos, so that'll be an action-packed episode. I will see you then.
Look at this fish. I shot him right through the gill plate on both sides. He was under a ledge like that. Someone hit him, but he was still barely alive.
Watch out, bro. My yellow jack might eat that thing.
Not at the market, it won't.
Look at this loosey goosey.
What you got in there, dude?
What is that, a little barjack? Yellow jack ate a barjack?
Look at.
Dude, that is a giant yellow jack. Wow. Not a bad stop. I don't know, are we done? Are we done yet, Kissel? Yes or no? Tell me, what does your heart tell you right now?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're done. We're gonna do one more spot. One more spot.
What am I? No.
Alrighty, we are done out here. Last spot of the day was the first spot we got skunked, but that's okay. We have got plenty for the market. We'll get back and may get back with some daylight. We'll see. But we'll see you there. We go! So I just got home. It is 8:30. That was every bit of a 15-hour day diving, but I wouldn't change it for the world. We got in so late the market was shut down and wasn't able to drop the fish off, so we will drop them off in the morning. I'll see you down there. So fish is at the market. Once I run the numbers, I'll get the commercial breakdown for you. What's really cool about where I am, the market is right here. Keys Fresh Seafood. And my slip is right here. Pretty long commute. But like I said, I'll get the numbers ran and we'll get you the commercial breakdown. Alrighty, it is time for a commercial breakdown that you guys like so much. Again, wanted to mention it. If you missed it at the beginning of the video, I did get some more merchandise in. I've got some Dibs on Bottom dry fits. I've got without and with the hood. I did get some Key West Waterman shirts made. Waiting on Dibs on Bottom hats, and I'm getting some Key West Waterman hats made. They're not in yet either, so shirts are up, hats are not. Link is in the description if you would like some. I'm actually editing this video right now, filming the outro and commercial breakdown. I tried a new microphone for the dive narratives, If it sounds better or worse or the same, I don't know, maybe let me know. I couldn't really hear a difference on my end, but a little easier to film or record it that way. But let's get down to the commercial numbers. We did pretty well. Started out slow, but we ended up kind of smashing it. Again, I keep these numbers roundabout out of respect for the market, their prices, to keep them competitive. And I've had a lot of you guys asking me, I get emails about how to get into commercial fishing to just pay for your expenses and do it as a fun thing. It's not really lucrative to do it that way. You're more than welcome to try. For example, grouper snapper permit right now, South Atlantic, don't quote me, I think they're about $100,000, and to lease it I think is around $10,000 to $12,000 a year. And there's a lot of other expenses that go into getting your boat and yourself certified to do commercial harvesting. So just keep that in mind. This is a daily profit. I'm not factoring in maintenance, tackle, shafts, insurance, boat slip, just the list goes on of all the stuff that you got to pay for to get this going. So anyways, we had majority of the grouper. I think it was around 100, I'm doing numbers in my head here, about 180-ish pounds of grouper, 30 something pounds of snapper, a little over 20 pounds of yellowjack. We had a total sale of about $1,300. Daily expenses was just fuel was $250, chum was about $60, so around $300-ish. So we had a daily profit of about $1,000. It was a great day. And another thing that normally comes into play is crew shares. Normally you pay, obviously, your workers on the boat. I'm lucky enough that I have a few friends that I trust to dive with. I don't let anyone come commercially, because you really have to trust the person with your life that's watching you. Between sharks and shallow water blackout and all that stuff, you really have to trust those people. So it's not something I open up publicly. I know a lot of people reach out and ask to go on commercial trips. Unfortunately, I cannot open that door. But typically, on your average commercial trip, you're paying a lot out on cruise share, so that number would be a lot less. And again, it's not going into my pocket, it's going into the business, and help paying boat slip and all that good stuff. So, but other than that, thanks so much for your time. I do appreciate it. Again, order a shirt if you want one. If you got a question, please feel free to leave it in the comments. I will get to it. And that's all I've got. Thanks so much for your time. I will see you guys on the next one. Later.